To you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 338, and got an awesome guest for a Wednesday evening. My second live interview in the space of 48 hours, just 2 days ago. I had Lana Austin, superstar Lana Austin, on the show. She doesn't give many interviews, but an awesome interview. We went about 60 minutes. I had cameo appearances from Rob Drake, Lee McAteer, so go and check that one out. But today, I've got one of the very best pros on the UK scene in 2023, and we're going to talk all about that. So the reigning, defending SWW Heavyweight Champion, the Stallion, Chris Bronson. Chris, how you doing, my friend?
Well, not too bad, John. How are you?
Very, very good. And I'm going to go straight to a question because we had Andrew Rutan, who sent a question in earlier. Can you make his introduction as long as his entrance into the ring? Although it's a banging tune, she says. So that's Dire Straits, isn't it? Money for nothing. But yeah. I think you do you drag it out on purpose? Because it takes you like 2 minutes to step through the curtain once your music starts. Is there a bit of thought process behind that?
A little bit. I just thought, I also, it's a great song. And then I thought it's just got a lovely build up to like a great guitar riff. So I thought it's quite a nice wrestling one. So when I was going through a stage of trying to listen to music, try to find a good entrance music, it was one of the ones that I just kept thinking like that would be good on like a big screen and all that. So I just thought, I'll just start using it. Fuck it, why not?
Absolutely. I thought I'd bring that up from Anne just to get a little bit of a laugh to start off with. But before we take a deep dive with Chris, just a quick reminder of some of my recent guests. And of course, November marked 5 years of Wrestling with Johners, and some of the great interviews we had in the month of November. Session Moth Martina came onto the show, a wonderful guest, a really fun 60-minute conversation with Martina. And of course, part one of episode 7, Masterclass series interviews with Toby St, one of the very best wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots to step through the ropes. British wrestling legend, world of sport legend Toby St. And part 2 will be dropping very, very soon in the month of December. Kira Chimera came onto the show in the month of November. A really great guest, a really fun interview. Please go and check that one out on my YouTube. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button as well. And of course, I had the opportunity to spend the day with Dirty Dango a couple of weekends ago, and we had a bit of an in-car interview, something I've never done before, but we both had fun. Go and check that one out on YouTube channel. Of course, as I said, my most recent interview was with Lana Austin 2 days ago. A wonderful character, one of the very best pros on the UK scene. Go and check that one out. My next live interview, next Wednesday, 7 days from today, is with none other than WWF legends, North American wrestling legend, renowned coach from JPWA over in Knoxville, Tennessee, Dr. Tom Pritchard will be live on Wrestling with Johners next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, so a slightly later start time. And of course, as a little Christmas present to you all, another interview that will be dropping before Christmas. Suplex Millie McKenzie will be on the Wrestling with Johners podcast. But today, it's all about this guy here, the Stallion, Chris Bronson. And there he is with the SWW, the South West Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. A beautiful belt, looks great over your shoulder. But let me ask you, 2023 has been a banger of a year for you. And I've seen a lot of your matches. I've seen a lot of your title defenses, especially in SWW. But if you were to sum up this year, we're getting close to the end of 2023. But if you were to sum up how this year's gone for you so far, how would you?
Just busier, to be honest. Like I've always wanted to be busy as a wrestler, and now I find like it's finally starting to get to a point where it's at least one a week I'm doing. Whereas I know some guys are wrestling a lot more than that, but like for me, that's busy. I work all week, and then if I get 3 shows on a weekend, that's brilliant. But I feel like this year has started to be at least one a week I'm dealing with, which is I want to like next year. I'd like to be more, I'd like to be busier, work for more companies, but I'm happy where I am at the minute.
Yeah, I think this has been your busiest year in your 5 or 6 year career, hasn't it?
Yeah, about 5 years I've been wrestling. Yeah, 100% busiest year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I have to book out time to spend time like with the missus and the family.
That's right. It goes the other way, doesn't it? Where you have to kind of book out time to
block
same for me.
weekends out.
But do you know, a little bit of trivia for you here? Do you know how many days you've been Southwest Wrestling Heavyweight Champion for? I can tell you if you don't know.
I would guess probably just under a year, maybe.
Well, you're getting that way. It's 299 days today. 299 days today. That's pretty special. But let me tell you something else. You are only 26 days away from tying Eddie Ryan's second reign record of 325 days. But bearing in mind, some of that overlapped with the pandemic.
Yeah.
But in only 27 days, you'll be the official holder of the record for the most amount of days for the longest reign of any Southwest Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
We ain't got a show till February, so I'll definitely have it.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it'll be an early Christmas present for you, for sure. But I mean, that's a pretty cool milestone. And I mentioned Eddie's second reign there of 325 days. And like I say, part of that overlapped with the pandemic. So I suppose, you know, in terms of actual wrestling days, wrestling weeks without lockdown, you are kind of the longest reigning champion. But in just 26 or 27 days, you will be officially the record holder. That's a pretty cool achievement.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, obviously I was chasing the belt for a long time. Like before the pandemic, I think there was a plan for me to face Eddie for the belt. And obviously the pandemic happened and it all went a bit tits up. And then when I came back, I was tagging with Chris Adams. So we were tagging together, and then I went down a different route for a while. So it feels like it's been a very long time coming. So to be holding it this long is brilliant. Do
you think that you're kind of making would make a better job of it as the champion now as you would have before the pandemic?
100%, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I was mad Mickey Forrester or something like that.
Really?
I didn't have a clue what I was doing. but I think it gave me a lot of time to grow, because I think if you'd have chucked the belt on me then, I would have just felt pressure and nervous that, I'm the champion now, I got to be great and stuff like that. Whereas now, and I had a lot of time tagging and like just chilling out and wrestling, enjoying my wrestling.
Yeah,
put me in a much better position to hold a belt.
Yeah,
I think, anyway.
It happened at the right time, didn't it? It happened at the right time. Let's have a look at some of your kind of title defenses, and don't want to go into too much detail about them, but I mean, it all started. I mean, you won the championship in this match here back in February the 10th, in that triple threat there. Two big dudes there to overcome, and you did, and you became the new SWW Heavyweight Champion. Your first title defense was against Niwa in Tewkesbury back in April, I think that was. And then, of course, you had WrestleVersary 3, your first match of a series against Toby St. John at the Exmouth Pavilion. A really fun show. That was a banger of a match, and I think it went to a double count out or something. And then Nico Angelo more recently back in August from the Frog and Fiddle in Cheltenham, and that was an awesome match. I think that was declared as like a anything goes sort of no disqualification match, and in the Frog and Fiddle, definitely a highlight of mine from the summer. And then more recently again in October, JJ Gale, an absolute banger of a match, and he's such a fantastic guy, such a fantastic wrestler and athlete. And of course, this past weekend from Ross on Y, the second match between yourself and Toby St. John for the Heavyweight Championship, and it was a bit of a dusty finish. But we won't go into too many details. But what's the most important thing is you walked out still as the SWW Heavyweight Champion. But I mean, when you look at some of their matches, and I got to say the one against Niwa certainly stands out to me as being just what a match that was. I don't know whether you'd fought Niwa before that match, but it really was a cracking match.
It was first time for me and Niwa, and I've heard so many good things about him, and I heard from like some people who I really respect how good he is. So I knew what I was getting myself into wrestling him, and he delivered. He's a bit of an animal, to be honest. Everything he does is very, very quick. Yeah, and you just got to try to keep up, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nico, like I say, he's a bit more of an aerial artist and another kind of super fast-paced guy. you probably know Nico from
from
New Wave, of course. But
Nico's brilliant as well. All the matches I've had defending the belt have been against top people, and all of them are very, very good wrestlers.
Yeah,
all in different ways as well. I'd say Toby and Niwa are quite similar, and then JJ and Nico are similar as well. So it's different variations of matches I'm having with them.
Well, this is something I was going to say, is that every match was different. Your opponents were different, but the styles of matches and the stories you told in the ring were all very different. So I think it's been a really fun and interesting kind of championship run for you, or run of matches as the champion so far. Quite a memorable championship run. Have you enjoyed this run as SWW Heavyweight Champion? I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but it certainly has been a fun one from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, 100%. It's quite varied, but I've only wrestled Toby twice. That's otherwise there haven't been any repeat opponents. It's been varied talent that I'm facing each time, and Pete just wants to bring fresh people in for me to wrestle. So I'm enjoying it, and whenever time is time, someone else has to do it.
Wow, I'm hoping that's not anytime soon, because you are approaching that 1 year mark, and like I say, that record reign. But I do want to touch on in a bit more detail Toby St John and kind of the rivalry you've had, and it all started back in Tewkesbury when he won his triple threat #1 contenders match. You won your match against Niwa. After the show, there you are celebrating. And that appears to be Rory, the referee, on the floor there. So I think he probably got a bit of a knock. But there you can see Toby coming out confident after winning his #1 contenders match. To look at you, to look at the bout. That set up the match that the two of you had at WrestleVersary over in Exmouth in May, and your second match in Ross on Wye this past weekend. And I think we're looking ahead to a third match. And if I remember rightly, you both did interviews with me after the show. I think that you was a little bit worse for wear after that match, a little bit worse for wear. You'll have to check it out on YouTube when the match drops. But you were saying no more rematches, no more rematches. Toby St John came up to me and said, look, give him one more chance, and if he doesn't win it, he will never have another shot at the SWW Championship again. But I think this story rivalry between yourself and Toby St John has been really gripping and very well booked from SWW, and awesomely played out by yourself and Toby as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Good, really great guy to work with, Toby. Great talent. And all I hear, before I even met Toby, I was told I had a brother in Cornwall. So I was I felt like I knew him before I even met him. But then when I did meet him, and watched him wrestle, I could see what people were saying. We do wrestle a very similar style. So as soon as we do start wrestling against each other, it just everything flows quite well, because we're both kind of thinking the same thing and both want to achieve the same thing.
Well, this is it, and you both similar style, similar build and similar stature. And I think what really strikes me is, on the independent scene, you got a lot of flashy wrestlers, you've got a lot of divers and things like that, high impact, fast paced. But you guys are kind of a bit more slower, a bit more methodical. You like to tell a story in your matches. And there's also an element of old school between the two of you as well. You two wouldn't be, the matches you've had wouldn't be out of place in the territory days of the mid-1980s. But like I say, I think your style is a bit of a throwback. Certainly when the two of you are in there, it's all about crash, bang, wallop, hitting hard, big moves, and not afraid to brawl around the ring as well.
Yeah, it's just the wrestling I grew up watching. And I grew up watching, obviously, Rock, Stone Cold and that, but then when I got really into wrestling, I went further back. I watched Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and that's where I sort of try to base my wrestling now, but sort of maybe modernizing it a little bit. Yeah. So I think Toby's very similar. Toby's watches the territories and all that, so it's very easy for us to go put something together, because we're both thinking, that'd be cool, and we can make something of it, instead of it being just do this, just do that. It's why would you do this? Why would you do that?
So there has to be a bit of mission behind what you do, so they actually make sense. And like I say, telling a story, isn't it? You're storytelling in that ring.
Yeah, that's it. The whole aim of it, really. You're telling a story to the crowd there, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
absolutely.
makes it easier for them to get emotionally involved in the match when
Yeah.
they're seeing a storyline unfold in front of them.
Absolutely. And we certainly have had that over the last 5 or 6 months with yourself and Toby, and there's more to be had. There is more to be
Yeah.
had. And I got a feeling that the next show in February could be the next chapter of that, although yet to be confirmed, yet to be confirmed. One match that I haven't mentioned yet, and it wasn't for the title, but it was in that kind of string of 3 shows back to back in April, and it was from the Trinity Centre in Bristol. You may remember this one, Ding a Bang. And like I say, your belt wasn't on the line, but the cowbell certainly was, and a different sort of match to what you would usually find in Bristol from the Trinity Centre. And of course, Dinger's got a great character; he's got a great gimmick,
Great
and that cowbell, I think. Well, I think you walloped him against the head a couple of times, and the sound reverberated around that Trinity Centre like I've never heard before. But that was a lot of fun and quite high impact as well. I mean, you two really laid it in.
Oh yeah, well, like me and Dinger, like he's one of my best mates in wrestling. So it's one of them. We just knew that we could lay it in as hard as we want, and with like when we wrestle each other, it's just hit as hard as you want, and we'll be fine after. And like he hit me with that rope and that bell, like he just laid it and hit me straight across the back. And then I think on one of the moves, might have been a superplex or something off the top rope, the bell somehow whipped round and hit him in the balls. But it was just one of them matches where we were just having fun, to be honest.
Yeah,
I couldn't really tell you what happened. We were just enjoying it and laying it in on each other.
Definitely one to watch. It's already available on Southwest Wrestling's YouTube channel. I actually did the commentary for that show, and I remember that match being a lot of fun to commentate on. But go and check that one out, and definitely a memorable one for sure. Another highlight of yours from 2023 has to be this here. Standing inside of an Impact ring, Gut Check 2023, and of course part of Impact's UK tour a couple of months ago now, I think. Time has certainly flown. But what are your memories of that? First of all, how did you get onto their radar? How did you become part of Gut Check? Did you have to apply or send off an email? How did that process start for you?
I did what everyone else did, paid the 80 quid and went along, really. David Sharp sent it to me and just said, might be worth having a go at. And like, I'm so oblivious to everything. I didn't even know it was going on or anything. I just live in my own little world. But he sent that to me, and then I messaged Sammy to see if he was going as well, and then we just went along together. It was good. I enjoyed it. There was a lot of people there. I think it might have been better if they capped it to less people so you got more time. So there's quite a lot of guys who didn't get a lot of time to show what they could do. But I got lucky enough to get through into the final matches, and it went quite well.
So tell us about that then, because I had Leon Cage on the show last month, and he was also there, and he said that he had a small role to play. I think he did some drills, but you were lucky enough to get into the advanced stages of that. So tell us about the day. What did they get you doing, and how did you progress to them latter stages?
So we were like, there's about 80 of us there, I think, and we got split into groups of 20.
Yeah.
And you started with like a forward roll drill, but you got to say something about yourself before you did your forward roll. Did forward roll drill where one would go and you got to try time it so you don't collide. And then another 20 went in. So it was quite stop-start. Like, I think probably all in, you're probably in the ring, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes over the day. But there's so many people, it's just hard for them to get everyone in. But you did groups of 20 forward rolls, and then it was like a heat drill where you come in, you get tagged in, come in, take a heat, and then they tag out and you put heat on the guy who comes in. I think that was it.
Did you get any feedback from the coaches or any of the Impact staff after your day there? And if so, what did they say? And what were some of the main takeaways from you from the day?
Well, I got some good feedback. Me and J Joshua, we got invited back behind backstage. So we were sort of standing around. We got to speak to us, some of the lads back there, and like the feedback was pretty much just keep doing what you're doing. And I just need to get more matches, but it was weird. It was kind of like it was just pretty much he took us back there to say you've done quite well,
Yeah,
and not to be disheartened that you didn't win. So it was nice. It's a nice little touch, and I just a takeaway from it. It's a bit more of a confidence boost that even to guys their level that they can say like, oh yeah, they're pretty good.
yeah.
So it's a bit of a confidence boost I got from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And did it give you a taste for wanting more from, not necessarily a big American promotion, but, of the limelight and the bigger scene, the bigger promotions? And did it give you a taste? And is it something you'd want to experience again, kind of a big tryout with a big promotion like that?
Oh, yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, the dream is to just go and wrestle for a living. So you've got to get on the big promotions to be able to do that. So yeah, it gave me a little like insight into what the next step, like the step ups are like. So yeah, it is a bit like a teaser almost. Like you're looking at it and you're like, well, I want that, but then everyone has a dream of like WWE, and so to me, it's like that's like the end goal. That'd be the dream is WWE or Japan, something like that. But I'm realistic. I'll see what happens.
Yeah. I can definitely see your style in Japan for sure. I think your style would go down really, really well over in Japan. But another group I want to talk about, and we spoke a lot about SWW and your near record-breaking reign as the heavyweight champion. But there's a couple of other promotions I think you've had probably even more matches for this year, and one of them being Wrestling Society. Based out of the southwest, Portishead and occasionally Cardiff. And you've had a number of matches for them in 2023, possibly 2022 and 2023, as a matter of fact. But Wrestling Society, I think they've now kind of merged under the banner of Brit King Pro, who we talk more about very, very soon. But Wrestling Society put on some great shows, always have a great show, always have a fantastic, loyal fan base and great talent, great matches. But tell us a bit about your journey with Wrestling Society, because it is one of those promotions that's used you very well in 2023.
Yeah, I loved it. I love it there, Wrestling Society. For me, it was like almost a return to 4FW in a way.
Yeah.
So as soon as Nadia told me that she was starting a promotion, then she told me who's involved. I was just like, this is 4FW like 2.0. Yeah. So I was straight on the bandwagon because that was like where it all started for me. I was more than happy to get involved and work with them. And then Nadia just said whatever date she had, like she was trying to book me for. So yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it there. Great dressing room. That was like the main thing I like is. It's a nice, friendly dressing room, and like you don't have to put up with many egos or anything like that.
And a lot of the old 4FW lads as well.
That's it. Yeah, it is just 4FW lads. It was
a familiar bunch of lads that you came up in the business with, but local to yourself, Bristol, Portishead. But one name that really jumps out to me from your run with Wrestling Society is Charlie Sterling. And I don't know whether you worked him much before the pandemic or before Wrestling Society, but I know that you've had a couple of tag matches with him, teaming up with him, and a couple of singles matches with him as well. But Charlie Sterling is one of them kind of underrated workhorses of the UK scene. And he's sickeningly good at pretty much everything for a big guy as well. What's your experience of working with and against Charlie at Wrestling Society in particular?
Oh, it's exactly what you said. It's how good he is, and it's one of them. I get in the ring with him, and I just think, just try keep up, keep up with him, and just do the best you can. You're not going to outshine him, but just do the best you can to be in there with him. He's one of them who, like, you kind of think, like, if he hadn't made it yet, like, how was anyone else going to do it?
What chance does anybody else have if he hasn't done it
yet?
If he
ain't inside, like, what chance do any of us have?
Yeah. but I mean, you're both doing incredibly on the UK Indies, and like I say, he's making his name certainly in progress as one half of the tag team with Nick Riley, of course. But like I say, just a couple of pictures I'm going to bring up here is a graphic, possibly of your most recent match with Charlie in a Wrestling Society ring, and a match with the two of you there. And there's a picture of two good-looking chaps, if ever I've seen it. But I mean, let's say you two seem to have this working with or against one another. And like I say, he's a workhorse and difficult to keep up with. And you've got another match with him coming up soon, haven't you, for All Star Wrestling South at their second show in Salisbury, the 16th of December. I think this has just recently been announced. And I bet you're looking forward to that one, aren't you?
Oh yeah, can't wait. Like Joel messaged me, and I've wanted to work for Joel's promotion for ages. I've been down there to train once, and he runs a great training school down there. So like to get involved in his shows was something I wanted to do for a while. And he just messaged me asking if I was free for that, and he said it's with Charlie, and I was like, well, I was free anyway, but of course I'll be free if it's with like Charlie again, because we normally gel quite well in the ring.
Yeah. Another company, we've spoken about Southwest and we've spoken about Wrestling Society, but New Wave Wrestling, they tend to work their shows out of the St Andrew's Church in Cardiff, don't they? And I think you've been part of quite a few of their shows. I think they've done about 10 or 11 shows so far. You've worked about 6 of them from 2022 through to 2023. And what I love about New Wave, obviously, it's Brendan White's training school, and he decided to put on shows for the talent that he was training. And it's a real mix, isn't it, of experienced talent. Some of the coaches are involved in the matches as well, and the newer talent as well, the trainees and people that have only had a few matches or still finding their feet. And that's what I love about New Wave. And it's different to a lot of other promotions, but it is, kind of like a training school promotion, but with a lot more behind it. It's putting on some banging shows and giving a lot of young talents some great opportunities. But what's your kind of thoughts on New Wave and your journey with New Wave so far, Chris?
Well, I love New Wave. New Wave's what, like when 4FW packed in training, I didn't have anywhere to train, so we used to train in my parents' barn. We had a wrestling ring in there. And
no way.
A few of the lads, we'd come meet and train in there, but we had no one to coach us. We were all, so it'd be me, Dinger, Chris Adams. I'm not sure if you'd have met him, but Jack Bird, Billy, and a few of the others. And we'd train in there, and August Jackson, he'd be in there. Yeah, but we'd train in there, but we had no one to coach us. So we trained in there for probably about a year. And we just go through what we already knew, and then New Wave.
It's cold in that barn, wasn't it?
Freezing, freezing. And then in the summer, boiling hot. You never got it right.
One or the other.
Yeah, and it stunk in there as well, which didn't help. It's a horse yard, but it toughened you up.
I bet.
New Wave came along. So what? I think we started going, a couple of us, to Dragon Pro at the tail end of that, and then Dragon Pro stopped, and then obviously we went back to the barn, and then we went. New Wave started up with Brendan, and I messaged Brendan about coming down, and I've never had someone he's so welcoming, and he couldn't do enough for any of his trainees. There's not enough people like that. He'll do anything for his trainees to get them out there, and you've only got to look at the guys who've come through New Wave and look at the amount of shows they're splattered across. Yeah. So it's a place where you're gonna get on shows, and you're gonna get, like, Brendan will just send his guys footage to everyone and try and get them everywhere, which is brilliant. So he did me some favors. He got me into Rev Pro for a few shows. That was through Brendan, just pestering Andy about it. Yeah. So I can't say enough really for him. He's done. Yeah, and the shows are great as well. So they're good. They're great fun to be involved with, and the dressing room's friendly, and everyone's just there to try to do the best, really.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had a ton of talent on this show this year alone that train with and under Brendan White at New Wave. The Brilliance being one of them, of course. But to demonstrate what a kind of weird wrestling kind of world we live in, and what a bit of a multiverse at times is, of course, we spoke about Toby St in Southwest Wrestling, your kind of bitter rival and enemy. But then you look at kind of New Wave, and you're part of Forefront, aren't you? And I've got some pictures here. There you are with the Brill, yourself, Toby St John, Jordan Sparks at the back there.
I look like Jimmy's mum in that photo.
What's that, sorry?
I said I look like I could be Jimmy's mum in that photo.
But looking at the four of you, it just works. You've got 4 young, hungry talents there that are, blistering up the scene up and down the land in new wave. You kind of got this almost like a four horseman vibe, to be honest with you. Definitely a four horseman vibe going on there. But tell us a bit about those individuals, because you got some top talent in that photo straight away.
Well, all three of them are brilliant. Obviously, I know Toby well, and Jordan's I think Jordan's such an untouched talent at the minute.
Yeah,
that people are just people haven't seen enough of him, because you watch him work in the ring, and he is brilliant, and I don't think enough people know it. And obviously, James Ellis is getting the recognition he deserves. He's everywhere. There aren't many times you don't see a poster without his face on it. And we've all got that similar style of wrestling. We like the 80s, we like the early stuff, the 90s. So and obviously Four Horsemen, kind of like the forefront is like, for me, I just want to come out and give it Four Horsemen, but I got to do our own thing.
Absolutely.
That's me. I'm living the territory, little dream in the head.
But it works all day long. And like I say, you've got this kind of old school territory vibe about the four of you. And I think it works. I think it just jumps off the page. I think it's awesome. And you've got a match just around the corner, haven't you? I think this one here. Is that what's the date on that?
Friday. This Friday.
2 days time.
Yeah.
Yes, like I say, you're up against. I'm only familiar with Kurt Atlas, to be honest with you. Not too familiar with the other two, but by the looks of it, that's going to be a banging match.
I don't know much
looking forward to that
Hamas, but TJ Walden's good still. He's a great wrestler. He's quite new, and obviously everyone like Kurt's great. Kurt's really good. Big guy who can move and do a lot of stuff.
And he's really transformed his look and
the hair and that, and the
phenomenal shape recently. Yeah. Phenomenal shape.
Really well. Kurt, I think next year will be big for Kurt.
Absolutely. He's definitely on my radar as well, for sure. We spoke a bit about the Forefront, your new faction, but let's talk a bit about Forefront Wrestling, because or 4FW as it's more commonly known, because that is where you cut your teeth. That is where you started. Was it about 2018 when you started training there or started performing for those?
It must have been 2018. I think I literally just finished uni and I stopped playing rugby. Oh, hang on. I thought I lost you. Yeah, I just stopped playing rugby and thought I've always wanted to do wrestling. I even told like the rugby coaches when I was training and all that, like, I'm not going to pursue rugby. I want to be a wrestler, and they just laughed. But here we are. So then when I got home, I just started training at Forefront, which was in Bristol at the time. And I think it wasn't that long. I think I must have trained, I want to say like maybe 4 or 5 months. And then I was chucked on a show in a pair of trunks and small boots and just told to go out there and have fun, pretty much.
Yeah. Who were some of the guys that you were coming up with through the 4FW academy, school, or maybe on the shows with at the time? Because I think it's kind of given birth to so many brilliant talents and names. When you think of like the likes of Eddie Ryan being one of them, Tiger Ali, yourself, and so many others. But who was you coming up with at the time?
So in the school training when I was there, who carried on to do shows, you got Ripper Reed was originally, he trained for a little bit and then he just completely stopped, and then he's gone on with Joel and like done really well. But I think he must train for about a couple of months. I remember him being there quite a fair bit. And then Dinger was there, and then Hotshot Chris Adams, my old tag partner. And there's a couple of others Mega Pegasus, a guy called Aaron, but I don't know if you'd have seen him. You'd have been on some of the early shows. But we were like the last batch of 4FW. Like we weren't in with Eddie Ryan, JD Knight, and Saint and Sammy and that. Like Sammy, Benham, and Dave Sharp were our coaches when we were there. Yeah,
and I used to watch a fair bit of 4FW because I lived and worked in Swindon for a number of years, around 2014, 2015, 2016. And I mean, those were wild shows from the Mecca. and always a great atmosphere, always brilliantly produced. And of course, after a short while, you became their champion, didn't you? And I've got a picture here, not to embarrass anybody, but I've got to say, that's a good lighting, good picture, the belt over your shoulder there. And
be some favors though.
You were champion kind of fairly early into your run, weren't you? I think you were probably champion from, now I do have the details here, from July 2018 through to February 2020. So even before the pandemic, 560 days, so about a year and a half. I mean, that must have been a huge kind of accomplishment for you, but also a massive learning opportunity as well, or a learning curve for you at the time, being so young, being so new to the business and having this massive opportunity. How did that feel for you?
It felt like it was great, but like I just didn't really know what I was doing. Like, because I think I got the belt. I have to check my notes, but I think it was only like not that many matches in, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I was being looked after by the guys in the ring. So yeah, my eighth match is when I won the belt. So
wow,
yeah, so it was a bit quick. I just got chucked straight in. And but I was lucky enough that I was working with the likes of the Saint, JD Knight, the Bruisers, the tag team, Tiger Alley. So I was working with them I was just your classic babyface then. So they were very much would tell me what to do and look after me. Make sure I didn't mess up pretty much.
But a year and a half reign, I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. And at a time when, British wrestling, UK wrestling was so kind of, renowned, and everybody was looking up at British wrestling as like the pinnacle, and 4FW highly respected. But it must have been a huge thrill. I mean, what are some of your favourite memories or moments or matches from your reign, that year and a half reign with 4FW?
I'm trying to remember them, because I don't think I wrestled that. I think I was like at the tail end of 4FW, where they didn't run as many shows. But I remember a good one with JD Knight with Saint as the referee. That was I enjoyed that one. The TLC matches obviously were great, because I think was it the last one? The one before. So I think the first TLC match I did, the rugby team I was playing with at the time were playing in Bournemouth, and they got the coach to drop them in Swindon for the match. So I had a whole rugby team,
brilliant
rugby lads in the corner.
That's what you want.
It made my job easy. Like, I only had to go, way, and they just threw all their drinks up in the air and all that. But yeah, when we were fighting in the crowd and all that, it was in amongst all the rugby lads, and it was just such a easy night. But that's a night I remember, because it's probably one of the biggest reactions that I've had. Obviously, because I knew everyone in the crowd. It helped when I got the belt down. Like, just seeing all the rugby lads go nuts was a bit of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever kind of wrestle Tiger Ali when you were the champion? Because I got to know Tiger or Benham very well during my time in Swindon, and I'll tell you why off air. But great guy, really, really great guy. Very, very underrated kind of performer, and would love to see him absolutely everywhere. But did you get a chance to work with him as the champion, or when you were the champ?
I won the belt off Tiger because I had the luxury of working him once, one-on-one. It was brilliant, because obviously Benham's one, like you said, I say Benham and Sammy are two of the most underrated, underused wrestlers I've ever met.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think they need to put themselves out there more, and then people need to grab them when they are putting themselves out there, because they're like phenomenal. But yeah, so I won the belt off Tiger Ali, and yeah, it's brilliant working with him. And I always got along with Benham really well anyway, even at training when I first started, met him.
Yeah, we
got along quite well, so it was quite easy to work with him. And as he coached me, it was very easy for us to put something together, because I just done what I was told pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you heard that Dave Sharp, who was a recent guest on Wrestling with Johners before his first two shows with Brit King Pro, when you heard that Dave Sharp was going to be coming back running shows again after probably a 3-year absence, and I know he was very hesitant about coming back into the game, but did eventually. So when you heard that he was coming back with Brit King Pro, what were your thoughts?
Oh, it's buzzing. Yeah, I was really happy. It's like it's like my home promotion, and for them to, because I just thought it was dead in the water, and like I said, when that stopped, we were kind of a bit at a loss. Like Southwest had a training school for a bit, but it didn't last very long. So we were all at a bit of a loss of where to train, and then obviously, luckily, I found New Wave. But yeah, for them to come back, it just like I was really happy because I thought if they're going to start running shows again, it'd be just like pretty much getting the old band back together, and it's a nice easy place for me to go wrestle because I know everyone and we're all like good mates. So yeah, I was really happy when I seen it. And obviously, I'd heard rumors that they were doing it because I'm quite pally with Sammy.
Yeah.
So like me and Sammy chat all the time, and he'd said that, oh yeah, we're thinking of bringing it back. So I was just like, I just kept pushing, saying, yeah, do it. Then again,
absolutely.
But
and I think they ran their first 2 shows in October, back-to-back nights. Now, I know that you were involved in definitely one of them. I don't know about the second because there was this championship tournament that you were part of. But what was the vibe like during the show that you were part of? Did it feel like a 4FW vibe? Did it feel like those days again?
I was on both of the shows. So
you were on both. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, that's right. I was on one Gloucester and then Emerson's Green, which is literally like 5 minutes from my house. So that's probably one of the best shows I've been on in a while. But no, it was good. It's just like old times.
Yeah.
Like straight away, we're all laughing, joking, just enjoying ourselves. And then obviously when it comes to the wrestling, we're a bit more serious. But yeah, it for me, it just felt like we're back doing what. This is how it started. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back and be more confident as a wrestler. Because when I look back onto when I was 4FW and when they were still about, I was very nervous. Like I'd have a laugh with everyone, but when it came to the wrestling, I'd just be sat in the changing room shitting myself pretty much.
Second guessing yourself. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I didn't really know what I was doing as a character either. I was sort of just like, I didn't really know. I just came out and went, hey. And if that didn't work, I didn't get them.
That's right. A lot of wrestlers have made a living doing that for 20 years, so you could get away with that. But we're all looking ahead now to the new year, and I know that Dave's announced a lot of shows already in 2024, but this is the big one, isn't it? Back in Swindon, the mega show. And if I can just read my screen there, Saturday the 13th of January, you got yourself and Sammy at the top of the poster there because the 2 of you will be featuring in the final match of the Tournament to Crown, the very first British Kingdom Professional Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. And that's going to be a tasty match between 2 people that know each other very well, but 2 people that's got great chemistry in the ring and going to put on a banger of a match. And that final match is definitely going to be one to look forward to, Chris.
I can't wait. I'm actually skiing. So we go skiing on the 6th of January, like me, my mates, and like the missus. And I'm flying back a day early to make sure I'm back for the match. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've wrestled Sammy a handful of maybe twice in the singles.
Right.
But both times it's been not under the best circumstances. It's kind of been like a last minute, quickly go out there and do something kind of thing. So this time where we know we're wrestling each other, we can prepare for it. It's really looking forward. Hopefully we put on a great match because he's brilliant, and we both wrestle a similar style, both like to hit hard. So he'll definitely hit harder, but hopefully I'll get back up.
Looking forward to that one, and I'm hoping to be there as well for that one. We haven't spoke at all or much about your wrestling fandom. Now, I get the feeling that you've been a lifelong wrestling fan, or certainly for a long time. But tell us a bit about your wrestling fandom, and who were some of the larger-than-life characters that kind of jumped out at you or maybe influenced you at all?
Kane was the first one.
Really?
100%.
What was it about Kane?
He was just massive, and he had the mask. And obviously, I think I remember I was with my dad somewhere, and we were at his mate's house, and they put on wrestling just to keep me entertained. I didn't really know. I was only young. I think it's about 3 or 4, and Kane was the first memory I have. I remember the match, but I can't remember the paper. It was Kane versus Big Show. I think it's Redemption or Rebellion, something like that. But just seeing it, like the whole facade of it, I was just hooked from there. I seen Kane do a drop kick, and he's like 7 foot or something, whatever they build him as. And as a kid, it was just blowing my mind seeing it all happen. So that was like my first initial hook into wrestling. And then I've never been like a weekly watcher. I never watched I could never tell you like what happened on this Raw and what happened there. But I had the DVDs and videos of like pay-per-views. So I just binge watch the same pay-per-views over and over. Yeah, and I just grew up watching it, never got out of it, even at school. I was the kid who was still into wrestling.
Really? You were that kid? I was that kid as well.
It's a proud kid to be. Yeah, I just never got out of it. And I was open. I was always told my mates, yeah, I'll be a wrestler one day. And yeah, I'd say more like nowadays, I'm more edged towards watching Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I'd probably say my favorite is, like, if I go back in time, I'd have said my favorite was Kane, but I think as I've got older, it's always been Shawn Michaels since being in my teenage years. And like prime wanker Shawn Michaels, that's the sort of one.
Yeah, the really cocky heel, 100%, 100%. Never liked Shawn Michaels as a babyface, to be honest with you. He's always a better heel. But I mean, we spoke a bit about your wrestling style, but are there any kind of wrestlers, we mentioned about influences, but any wrestlers that you've kind of modeled your style on over the years? Because it is a little bit old school, it is a little bit kind of a throwback to the territory days, and you're definitely more of a brawler than, you know, a flashy wrestler. But anybody that's influenced you certainly in your style at the moment, or that you've taken bits from?
I'd say obviously like Arn Anderson. Like I like hitting the spine buster. I try and mimic his spine buster.
Your spine buster is beautiful, by the way.
Ah, thank you.
It really is. Yeah.
I try and make it look good. Yeah, I don't really. It is like it's varied. Because I'd say when I first started, I was probably trying to mimic a bit of, or attempting to mimic, like Chris Benoit, trying to be a bit of an intense baby face, but it didn't really work. But I'd say nowadays I'm more watching, like I said, Tully, Arn, and Flair, and trying to take little things that they do, but make it more how I would do it. But yeah, I don't really know who I model myself on. I'd say those three. If I can,
think the ones you've mentioned certainly stand out. Certainly makes sense for sure.
A little bit of the Snake.
Yeah, you mentioned, you know, Jake the Snake, Ric Flair there, Tully Blanchard, all great promo guys. And I've seen you cut one or two good promos as well, especially at Southwest Wrestling.
All in the interview, isn't it? It's nothing to do with me.
But the thing is, you always say to me, "Oh, you know, not very good at interviews, not very good at promos," and then you take the mic, you take control, and you absolutely boss it, mate. So, but is that something that you've put a lot of work into, or, you know, try to practice in front of a mirror? I'm going to ask you the question: how have you got to where you are with promos and backstage work like that?
Promos has just been like a terrible journey of like messed up promos and watching them back and deleting them straight away because I can't stand it, like the sound of my own voice. But it's mainly just been trial and error, constantly trying. And I'd always send him to Gilligan. He's a very good promo guy.
Yes.
So I send him to Gilligan, and he's brutally honest, which is what I want. Like, you can send it to some people and they'd be like, yeah, it's good, but I know it ain't that good. Whereas if I send it to Gilligan, if he says it's good, it's pretty good. He'll tell you what to work on, if not. And it's pretty much that. I've been going to people like JD Knight, the Saint. I used to send them promos and just say, be honest with me, how bad is it? And it's just been doing that and that. And when I think I started to get better at them really when I was tagging with Chris Adams. So when I was tagging with Adam quite a lot, we just had fun with it, and that was it. That was like, I just started to enjoy it, and we did some bullshit promos looking back on them. Like, there's some I regret, but they were good fun when we were doing them. So it's a case of like, we got more comfortable with talking to a camera and flowing through a promo. But yeah, it's been a journey. I don't think I'm a good promo guy. I never would think I am, but I like to think I can just about get through one now.
The ones you've shot with me have been really, really good, really, really fun, very confident, and I think that you're Definitely growing with your promos, but yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about your promos. But usually you do push me out the shot. That's the only kind of critique is you know, you don't manhandle the interviewer. But the last one, I think I was propping you up because you had gone through the ringer. But enough about that. I want to briefly talk about kind of your look as well, because if we go back to that 4FW days and looking a bit more clean cut, the short hair, and then if we look at the Stallion of 2023, looking a bit more rugged, the long hair, looking pretty sharp there, my friend, if you don't mind me. Obviously, this was a conscious decision. Obviously, we're probably talking a good few years between them photos, but is it part of the growth and the development and the evolution of Chris Bronson?
I just always wanted long hair. So it was COVID hit, and we weren't obviously there's nowhere to go out. So I managed to convince the missus that it'd be a good idea for me to grow my hair, and she was like, "Yeah, just do it, whatever." And yeah, it was a bit tough. Like about a year in, when you got like this sort of like bob that don't really split anywhere, like it just looked horrendous. I was wearing a hat everywhere. I don't even wear a hat when it's just me in the house. Like it was a tough phase, but once I got through it, and you get to a point where you can pull the hair back, and then that's what I wanted to look like. Like, so I grew up watching wrestlers with long hair. So I grew up watching Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and I just look at the hair, and Triple H. I look at the hair and go, yeah, it just makes. That's a wrestler for me, is the long hair. You've got to be built a certain way. That's just like my view of a wrestler.
You've got some way to go before you get a lovely mullet like Tom Pritchard there. That's the goal, isn't it? That is the goal of every professional wrestler, is to have a mullet like Tom Pritchard. Let's jump to some questions, because we have had a few questions come through. And now, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand this question, but you may. It's from one of the boys. Axel Carter, what's Chris Bronson's favourite Louis Miguel song? Now, Louis Miguel, full transparency, never heard of the guy.
Sold to Mexico. He's a singer. I think he's a Mexican singer, and it would be Hasta que me olvides is my favourite Louis Miguel song. And yeah, me and Axel have bonded on that a bit. But yeah, he's a great singer. He's got some bangers.
I'll have to check him out on Spotify. And absolutely, let's see. I do have plenty more. So, this is a good question. Now, we spoke obviously about your SWW run as a heel. Wrestling Society, I think you wrestle Wrestling Society sometimes or mostly as a babyface, don't you? Is that right?
Oh, swaps every show, John.
Does it really? Yeah. So, a question that came through earlier from Richie, friend of the show. I love your theme tune, Money for Nothing. Of course, we mentioned that at the beginning. Do you prefer playing babyface or heel? So there must be pros and cons to playing either or, but any preference?
I've always preferred heel. I find it a bit more natural coming out and not being like, yeah, come on, everyone, doing all the high fives. I prefer being a heel, but I don't mind being a babyface. I find my music can be a bit of a, can't think of a word about swear, a bit of a mind fuck for the fans. It feels like everyone wants to start clapping to my music, and then I come out and I'm a bit of a wanker. So I feel like I mess with their heads a bit accidentally. So
definitely a heel.
I prefer a heel.
And Richie again, he can see you as the New Wave champion. Now, I think the current champion is Elijah. I think that's right. I think he took the belt from James Ellis a little while back. Yeah, I can see you as the New Wave champion. What about yourself? Is that a little goal that you have in mind for 2024?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the belt around the waist, obviously. I'd love it, but we just have to see what happens, won't we?
Absolutely. And Richard's been a busy boy. He sent in another question. Any other promotions, wrestling promotions you'd like to dip your toe into in 2024? And like I say, you mentioned Rev Pro there, where you had a few matches with them. A big promotion on the UK scene. But have you got your eye on any other promotions, either locally or further afield? Or, like I say, I don't know if you've had the chance to step abroad yet, working over in Europe or anywhere like that. But have you got your eyes on any promotions or any countries you'd like to work in, I suppose?
Ideally, I'd love to work abroad. I'd love to go like wrestle in Europe. Like I know a lot of guys who have, and I get jealous when they talk about it. But mainly it'd be Japan. I'd love to go to Japan and wrestle. I think that's always been like because it got mentioned to me before when 4FW was going that there's potential we might be linking with Japan, and I was sort of said that you can go out to a dojo, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I was only 21. I thought this would be amazing, and then obviously 4FW fell through.
Yeah.
So Japan would be the main one for me. If I could get anywhere in Japan, I think that'd be great.
There you go. Still plenty of time, and I think you're at. This is the best version of Chris Bronson we've ever seen, so it's going to happen. Darren Ewan's been in touch. Who would be your dream opponent? So we've spoken about bucket list companies and countries you'd like to wrestle in, but are there any bucket list or dream opponents you might have, Chris?
That's a tough one.
Could either be in the UK or further afield. Dream opponents or
who's wrestling now.
Yeah, sort of. Why not?
God, I don't know. I feel like I should prepare for this. I feel like of all time, if I had to pick someone, it'd probably be Mr. Perfect.
Yes.
I think that would be a really good. I feel like that would be fun. I feel like we could do. It'd be good fun wrestling Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Trying to think currently wrestling. Who would I like to wrestle? Samoa Joe. I think I'd love that. I'd be hard hitting and be my sort of style.
Yeah, definitely. But there's so many. I think you've got the type of style that could mesh and mix well with pretty much anybody. Because I think you're a worker's worker, and I think that you can adapt. And as we said, the different opponents and challenges you've had for your SWW Championship this year, they've all been very varied. From Nico Angelo, JJ Gale, Toby St. John, so on and so forth. But like I said, I think you can kind of mix it up with pretty much anybody, which is something not every talent can say they can do, but I think you definitely can.
Well, I try my best, John. I know I'm going to think of someone. This question is going to annoy me now. I know I'm going to think of someone, and I'll randomly just blurt it out.
Yeah, well, like I say, you've had some awesome opponents. I mean, Charlie Sterling, like I say, he's got to be up there as one of your favourite opponents of all time. But there we go. We haven't finished yet, so if you think of anything, just randomly say a name, and that's absolutely fine. We'll know what it's about. Okay, we'll understand. We'll understand. But before we ask the Stallion for his socials, just a quick reminder of my up-and-coming guests. And I haven't announced my guests for January yet, which I will do in the next week or so. But of course, next week, my next live interview, and I've got a full 7 days to relax a little bit and then prepare for this one. But Dr. Tom Pritchard will be coming onto the show next Wednesday, the 13th of December, 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over in the States. That's going to be an interview you're not going to want to miss. I am going to be talking to him about JPWA. We will be mentioning the 4 British individuals that recently went over there as part of the summer class. Jordan Sparks, Toby St. John, Echo, and Ruby Manitoba, of course. But we will also be taking a deep dive into Dr. Tom's awesome career as a wrestler and as a trainer. And I'm definitely going to be delving into his stint as part of the Heavenly Bodies, one of my favourite all-time tag teams. And then the following week, a date to be announced. But Millie McKenzie will be coming on as my special Christmas guest, and that will be dropping before Christmas. So whatever platform you're watching this on, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. So hit that like and that subscribe button. But the Stallion, let me ask you, where did the Stallion nickname come from? And kind of when did it first start getting used by yourself, and why? Tell us a bit about the Stallion nickname.
I can't really remember now. It wasn't too long ago. I wanted something, because I can't remember what I was before. I think it was like Notorious or something like that. Notorious Chris Bronson. But I don't know. I felt, I grew up on a horse yard, and I was trying to think, is there anything I can say around sort of where I've grown up and all that? And I just thought Stallion sounds quite cocky and arrogant. So yeah, it was kind of literally just clutching at straws and went, yeah, that'll do, Stallion. And then it feels good to say. So it's starting to gel a bit now.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It definitely works with
Yeah.
you and for your character. So scrolling along the bottom of the screens are Chris Bronson's socials, but just tell us if any of my viewers, listeners, followers wants to reach out, learn more about the Stallion Chris Bronson, just say hi or maybe see some footage, where can they do so? And I've got specifically Instagram and X running along the bottom of the screen, but the floor is yours, my friend.
Say that again, sorry, John.
Yeah, where can we reach out to you? Tell us about your socials.
Yeah, just Instagram, Twitter. That's all I really use. I don't really use Twitter that much, but Instagram, that's probably my main one that I'll put stuff out on, or my Facebook, Chris Bronson Facebook profile page, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chris_Bronson, you'll find the Stallion
Double
on
underscore.
That's it. Don't forget the underscore. Very important. But there we go. Go. If you've got any final words to sign us off this episode of Wrestling with Johners to people that supported you over the last 4, 5, 6 years in the wrestling business, your fans, your followers, your friends, but any final words from the Stallion to sign us off this episode of Wrestling with Johners?
No, just thank you. Thank you if you do support me. I appreciate it. And keep supporting me, and hopefully I'll get busier and busier.
That's it.
And
2024
thank you, Johners, for having me on.
Oh, it's been a delight. It's been a pleasure. And like I say,
I told you I'd be boring, John. I did warn you I'd be boring.
You weren't bored at all, but it's nearly your bedtime, so we've got to say goodbye. But the Stallion Chris Bronson, thank you so much for being an awesome guest, and I'll see you very soon, my friend. Take care.
Thank you for having me.